Hi, you're with India Post Live, India's first online streaming news conversation web TV, where you too can participate in this conversation. I'm Ishan Russell, and yes, we're talking about the big elections of 2014. They've just concluded, and what we've been doing is we've been running a prediction poll for you to participate in. It's called Hum Bole. That is, we all of us together, our choice, our voice, and you can be part and you can raise your voice on India Post Live. So join in the conversation. Just go to the website, go on the contest Hum Bole, log in and predict who do you think is going to be the winner. In fact, the winner gets a car. Yes, a sedan car, not even a small car, a sedan. So that's a really awesome prize. Other than that, there are iPads, there are a host of other prizes up for grabs. So do participate in that contest. And of course, we think it'll be one of the most accurate things because we're actually getting people themselves to respond to us rather than trying to get into people's heads and trying to analyze what they're doing. So you tell us what you want. In fact, we'll have the results up for you right now, the kind of predictions that we've been getting on that contest. This show is about what you are saying on Hum Bole. So let's in fact get those graphics out for you first. Meanwhile, I'll also introduce the panelists that I have with me today. So we have with us Gaurav Jain. Gaurav has been doing very interesting stuff in this election. He's been traveling across this country on a cycle. Yes, he's a freelance journalist and has been covering this entire election on a bicycle. And he's traveled the length and breadth of this country. So we'll be getting an absolutely on the ground perspective for him. We also have with us Mr. Sudeep Srivastava. He's an RTI activist, a lawyer, researcher, one who wears many hats, has been also traveling across the country in this election, I believe, right?
Yeah.
All right. And on Google Hangout, we have Mr. Darshan Desai joining us from Ahmedabad. He's, of course, a respected journalist and has been traveling across the country as well, getting a sense of 2014, the big general election. We'll also be joined by Mr. Venkatesh Atreya. He's, of course, somebody who's he's an adjunct professor at the Asian College of Journalism and has been analyzing these poll predictions and analyzing them for some time now, 2004, 2009, now 2014. He joins us live. We're also joined via Skype from all the way from Canada by Vikram Singla. He's from Toronto in Canada and he's an AAP supporter. Rahul Verma joins us from the CSDS. He's a research associate over there. So as you can see, we have a whole panel of experts. You can too participate in this competition, in this conversation, not this competition. Hum Bole is the competition. This is the conversation we're having about Hum Bole. Go to Twitter, just hashtag India Post Live to your tweets or hashtag Hum Bole to your tweets or use our Twitter handle at India Post Live. Also, you can log in via Facebook or just go to indiapostlive.com and log in and participate and ask a question to our experts. All right, so let's, while my producers try to play those graphics out for you of our Hum Bole predictions, the sense that we've been getting all evening, so from the exit polls is NDA is in a clear majority. NDA is going to cross 272. And in fact, let's take a look at the Hum Bole predictions that we have. We are saying that, and this is not what we are saying, this is what you, the people, are saying. The BJP 203 seats, the Indian
During the course of my journey, they didn't really give Aam Aadmi Party that much of weightage. The biggest thing that probably worked against them was the resignation of Arvind Kejriwal within 49 days. Everybody says that if they couldn't, and that's not, they don't listen to reasons. That's what their perception is, and that's final for them. If Arvind Kejriwal couldn't handle Delhi for 49 days, how would he handle the country? And that's why, at least, all the constituencies that I traveled, I don't think Aam Aadmi Party had a very good chance in any of them.
All right.
I think in any polarized election, and this is, I think, most polarized election we ever had, people choose either of the party which can win. And this resignation actually triggered that AAP is not a serious contender. And that's what the graph of AAP party which was very high. They actually got hold of the imagination of the people of this country, tipped like anything. And with no cadre in the rural areas, they actually contested, I think, 400 seats. Instead of concentrating few seats in which they could have done well.
All right, interesting point you make about the fact that I think it spread itself too thin and did not have the organizational support to contest 400 seats. Mr. Desai, the AAP road show in Ahmedabad was much talked about, in Gujarat was much talked about as far as Arvind Kejriwal is concerned, and online obviously people are suggesting that the Aam Aadmi Party would get 37 seats, but on ground as far as Gujarat is concerned or any other state that you've been travelling to, what do you really make of the Aam Aadmi Party as far as 2014 is concerned? Well, we seem to have lost that audio connection with you. Mr. Desai, I just request you to stop because we seem to have lost the audio connection and we'll just try to re-establish that again. Meanwhile, I'll go across to Rahul Verma. He's a research associate at CSDS. Rahul, Aam Aadmi Party, 37 seats. That is what people on the internet are saying. And I think that is where the Aam Aadmi Party made the most mark on the internet, isn't it? Not on the ground this time around.
No, you're absolutely right about this. I think that figure is a bit exaggerated. Aam Aadmi Party certainly had an opportunity, at least when they were in power in Delhi. And at that moment, I thought the momentum was building in favor of Aam Aadmi Party and they could have done really well. But as Gaurav pointed out, after that resignation, people actually don't want to listen why you resigned, right? I think in many places in many places where I went and I spoke to some people, they said, when you consulted us while forming the government, why didn't you consult us before resigning it, right? So most probably, I wouldn't even agree that they have captured the imagination of people. Probably they're going to do well only in 1 or 2 states. Their vote share is going to be much below 5% mark, probably 3 and 4%, which is good for a party contesting its first election. But the kind of the opportunity they had in February first week, they have declined from that position tremendously.
All right, I want to go across to Chennai, from where we're joined by Mr. Venkatesh Athreya. He is, of course, an analyst. Mr. Athreya, as far as the Aam Aadmi Party is concerned, many in Delhi had said that no, they would not do that well, but then they surprised everybody. Do they have a surprise in store? Do you think they weren't able to capture the votes that they would really require?
You see, I think we tend to have a very Delhi-centric media in this country. Delhi-centric formation of opinions. Now, at one level, you can say, well, all due credit to the Aam Aadmi activists, and I respect them for what they've done, what their fresh air they've brought, and so on. Let's face it, this is a municipality election. Across the country, people win municipal elections. It happened to be Delhi, so the big deal, Delhi state. So a lot of mileage is given in the media and in across the country. But I do think that the Aam Aadmi Party brought something fresh. They focused on corruption. They stood by certain values. I think they must be respected for that. But I think at the moment, as an electoral political force, they are unlikely to be very significant across the country. In Tamil Nadu, they had 1 or 2 names. One very fine activist who's been wearing the anti-nuclear struggle and so on. So like that, they've had iconic kinds of figures here and there, but they also made the mistake of highlighting these kinds of individuals. And at the end of the day, as the other panelists have been saying, there's no car down the road. There's no clear perspective on fundamental socio-economic issues. There's no clear alternative. Of course, their line is, oh, we are neither right nor left, and this is all right. And the other line is that government has no business to be in business. These kinds of cliches don't really work. People are looking for problems to be solved. And yes, in Delhi they had a chance to solve it. I would wish them well. I would want them to create and occupy a certain political space which will be basically for people. But at the moment, I think, as you correctly said, they're much more on the social media than they are on the ground. And that's not a bad thing. They just started their political journey, so they might actually over a period of time do much better. So I don't want to prejudge anything, but at this point in time, I would have to say this seat projection is quite absurd. It's more wishful thinking. They're likely to get about maybe 2 seats and 2 or 3 seats in Delhi, maybe 1 or 2 somewhere else, but I don't see them doing much more than that. Sorry.
All right,
With all due respect,
right, Darshan Desai, as far as the Aam Aadmi Party's performance is concerned, what would you expect from this? Because on the internet, people are saying that certainly Aam Aadmi Party could gain even as much as 37 seats, but they've had big road shows. They did one in Varanasi, they did one in Gujarat, but on ground support, do you see it?
No, they are not getting the right ground support, and I still maintain that they should have dug their heels for some time. It's like, once again I'll repeat, it's like you must first win a municipal election. After that, you should look for India. Just because you won Delhi election and you lost that state, it was such a spectacular victory. You defeated Sheila Dikshit, 3 time sitting chief minister. Okay, and after that, you could not do anything with that government. If you had taken two good steps, it would have turned the tables in your favor. But it's not happening right now. It's basically a media show. That's all. Media show and all that soundbite thing. Otherwise, there is nothing about. I don't see anything about Aam Aadmi Party right now, as of now.
All right,
The
the other.
opposite.
All right, the other interesting thing that I want to talk about as far as the Humboldt predictions for today goes, and you can change that prediction around. You can make your own prediction. You can participate. Just go to indiapostlive.com, go to the Humboldt contest, log in and post your prediction over there. Who knows, you could win a car or an iPad or any other gift, a host of gifts that we have on offer. All right, Gaurav, the other interesting thing over there is 203 seats to the BJP. So not a clear majority, as TV channels right now are saying that BJP is going to cross the 272 mark. What's your ground sense as far as the NDA, BJP and the Modi wave goes?
In different constituencies, I came across different opinion of people. For example, when I traveled through Amethi, well, obviously, the sway was clearly towards Congress. Same was in Guna. Guna, although it's in Madhya Pradesh, which is in the saffron colors these days, but it's Jyotiraditya Scindia. So you cannot pinpoint and say that this whole region is under Modi wave, this whole region, maybe some other party. But yeah, when I used to interact with people, my opening lines would be that kiski hawa chal rahi hai, or which party has a bigger sway this time. And they would reflect what they used to hear from the electronic media. Because in villages, there is no newspaper. The penetration of TV is massive. So they will say Modi ki wave hai. But when I talk with them 5 minutes, 10 minutes, then they will remove their peels. The peels of the onions will come out, and they will say, "Hum to ji behan ji ke saath hain shuru se." Yeah, we are hardcore Congress supporters. So if you just ask them kiski hawa hai, you'll get the cliched reply, Modi ki hai. When you dig deeper, you get a better or a clearer picture. But as you can say, I have there is no guarantee that whatever they're telling me initially or later, which one is the correct version. So it's up to the...
Interesting, because somebody else who traveled to Uttar Pradesh told me this incident, that he'd asked people on the ground what they thought, and he was talking to one gentleman who said, yes, Modi is going to be Prime Minister and everything, but then he asked who are you going to vote for, and he said, no, I am Yadav, I'll vote for the SP. So, on the ground, I mean,
one more thing I would like to contribute, that in few constituencies, people would say that, for example, in Guna, they would say, देश में तो मोदी आ रहा है, but हमारे यहाँ से तो राजा साहब ही जीतेंगे. So that also was quite amusing, that if they themselves are not wanting BJP or Modi in their constituencies, they will vote for Jyotiraditya. But as far as the national Prime Minister goes, they are taking the sides of Modi. So people are actually in two minds in their own constituency they want somebody else. In the country they want somebody else.
All right, and you just have one vote to leave. Yeah.
Actually, whatever Gaurav has said is correct, but issue is in that scenario, you cannot deny that this Narendra Modi, and actually Narendra Modi is not the Narendra Modi wave. He is actually riding a wave against Congress, against the UPA government because of inflation and corruption. He has projected himself very well. So you cannot deny that in those constituencies, which are quite large in numbers, BJP will definitely have an advantage because of Modi. But at the same time, each constituency equation, especially in Uttar Pradesh, where a four-corner contest, or in Bihar, where three-corner contest is taking place, the local equation, the local caste arithmetic, because a lot of has been said about development, but at the end, this election is again based on religion or caste. Every party is ultimately shared their and they come out with openly. So, number of seats what BJP will get is totally dependent on this charisma of so-called charisma of Narendra Modi. Then in the average constituency, how much tilt he can get for BJP.
All right, but this was an interesting election because there were hardly any average candidates left. I mean, the Congress got all its stalwarts and all the general secretaries were
Lot
forced to
of
fight.
average candidate. Lot of average
candidates?
Lot of average candidate.
That's the problem with the media perception that I guess.
Media tends to cover only VVIP constituencies. A lot of air time has been devoted for Varanasi. Varanasi, Modi is going to win with a handsome margin, no doubt about it. It's a psychology. If a prime minister candidate and its likelihood that he is going to become a prime minister, the perception is such, people will vote for him. I think it would have been better for electronic media if they had studied what the impact of Narendra Modi contesting in Varanasi would be making in the nearby seats, where average candidate of BJP is contesting.
All right. So that's an interesting perspective to take. Rahul Verma of CSDS is with us. Rahul, as far as the BJP goes, our Hambole prediction is saying 203 seats for the BJP. This is what the people themselves are writing in. So it's not a clear majority as many TV channels on the exit polls are saying right now. What do you make of this? I mean, you could question the methodology because you're a hardcore researcher, but in the sense of from the people, it's not that clear. It's still not easily past the post.
Of course, because the match is not over. You only know who won after the match is over in cricket or football, right? All you can basically guess in the middle of the match that who might be able to win, right? That's the only thing exit polls and post polls do. So let me basically go through some of the issues which you have been discussing. First, let's not talk about religion and caste in elections as if something very bad is happening to India. Right? Social divisions across the world always play a big role in elections. 2012 presidential elections in US were decided by where the blacks are going to vote and where the whites are going to vote. Right? So caste and religion is not, the relationship with political parties is not axiomatic. There is some policy concerns of certain social groups and that's why they align with political parties. Dalits think that probably BSP does well for them and that's why they vote for them. Muslims vote for some political parties or upper caste vote for some political parties. It's not as if I was born in some caste and that's why I align with that party. I think that political party works for my community and that's why I vote for it. So I would like to basically, do not separate this social division versus development game. These both are kind of aligned. The second point is about like whether there is a wave or not. See, we'll figure out this on 16th, whether there was a wave or not. Even on 16th, some people would still be crediting to, so if probably BJP does well and they're very close to 272 mark, there would be some people who would call this not as a Modi wave. They will give the credit in Madhya Pradesh to Shivraj Singh Chauhan in UP to Amit Shah, in Delhi to Aam Aadmi Party, spoiling it. See, this is a game, like, this is a competition of semantics. You are using different words to describe the same thing. For the objective analysis of this election would suggest, as someone was pointing out, that Modi has become the reference point of this election. Whether you like him or not like him, or whether Gaurav went to those places, and the first conversation began with Modi. Whether media helped in that amplification, we all know what happened. But Modi is becoming the reference point of this election. Wave, factor, impact, these are all words to say the same thing in different tones.
All right, fair enough. That point you make over there. In fact, I would just want to tell our viewers on the screens right now, you could probably see the alliances, how well they're doing. Now, remember, the Congress in 2004 got 140 seats and became UPA. And that UPA is now, as an alliance, expected to get 141. This is coming from Hambole predictions. This is from our website. This is what you, the viewers, have been saying on our website. Also, the NDA to get 235 seats. The Third Front, 75 seats. And others are 102. So it's not clearly, it's all up in the air as far as the Hambole prediction goes, because it's not a clear majority. That is what people are suggesting. In case you disagree, write into us, go on our website, go to indiapostlive.com, go to the Hambole prediction contest and participate. You could even win a car over there. So that is what we are saying right now. I want to go across to Mr. Darshan Desai. Sir, as far as the NDA and the UPA goes, we are saying 140 seats to the UPA and NDA 235. This is what people have been writing into our website. We've been just asking them to fill a form, and voluntarily they're doing this. So it's still a little up in the air. I mean, 235 is still close to 272 for the NDA, but it's still not mission 272 achieved.
In fact, I would appreciate your poll, which seems to be more honest than the other quite a few other polls. Because I've seen so many elections, and most of the opinion polls of all TV channels have always gone wrong. For instance, if you look at 2004, the India Shining campaign, it was all out. Like, I mean, the same way as now, the media hype of India Shining, nothing of it was shining. The Shining Party lost the game. There is one difference this time, is that there is actually, as someone said, that there is actually a very, very strong anti-Congress wave. There is no Narendra Modi wave. It is an anti-Congress wave. And Narendra Modi is an expert at riding all kinds of waves and hijacking all kinds of issues. And there is no other, I mean, it is much to the misfortune of the Congress, or maybe some people in the BJP, that there is nobody else like that who can, counter or who can ride these waves like this. Like for instance, Priyanka Gandhi said Nichi Rajniti, and he converted the whole thing into caste-based thing. There was nothing about caste in that, but he converted the whole thing. So that's bound to happen. So I think it's largely an anti-Congress view on which Mr. Modi is trying to ride, and on which he is sugarcoating it with his development talk. Otherwise, Gujarat has always been a developed state. बिजली सड़क पानी गुजरात में हमेशा से अच्छे थे. अब आपने कौन सा नया कर दिया? आप ये बता रहे हो जैसे आप जब तक नहीं थे तब तक हाथी चल रहे थे गुजरात. अब फर्क गुजरात में सब कुछ होने लगा.
All right, so that's the voice from Ahmedabad.
I would like to add with Mr. Desai. In UP, when I came across around lot of people who were saying, we won't vote for BSP or SP because they ultimately support Congress. And we are fed up with Congress government or UPA government. So this is actually a failure of UPA.
So the message that the BJP has been saying all along, that the SP and the BSP are hands in glove with the Congress, that has gone through the masses. That has gone through the message. The message is
definitely.
All right, I want to give it to Mr. Venkatesh Atre, and sir, 141 to the UPA, 235 to the NDA, Third Front and others. I'd like to take all the regional parties together, 177. So that means, I mean, it's all up in the air. The permutation combination now actually starts the real fun politics of backroom negotiations.
The predictions can be quite off the mark. But let me put some numbers into this. 116 is what BJP had in 2009. Tell me, where are they getting the remaining from? I mean, there's all this bogus talk of 116 suddenly magically transforming into 250, 240, 300 in some speeches. So I think your viewers are probably most spot on, even if they are wrong about specific individual parties. So I think this roughly 230, 220, 230, 240, that range, I think 240 for NDA is not widely off the mark. We're not saying this on the basis of any exit poll, because I don't think exit polls, the way they're conducted, can actually give you a handle on this at all. But gut political assessment from our friends on the panel who've been talking about it, I agree with Mr. Desai very much on the things he said. In Tamil Nadu, look, where is the Modi's wave going to do anything? In fact, there is an anti-Congress wave, as people are correctly saying. Rajnath Singh came to Tanjavur. There were 150 people for that meeting. They had these huge 10,000 chairs put up. BJP has fielded a person with 30 criminal cases in Tanjavur constituency. You really seriously take it as a national party when they do that? So I don't think that there is this, presumed Modi wave across the country at all. And even here and there, where, as our friend pointed out in UP, suppose you're disgusted with BSP, NSP, you want to vote for, that will be marginal. It's not going to make a difference to seats, so to say. It might make a difference to the percentage of votes. Congress will lose a certain percentage, Bajpa will gain a bit, but it's not going to translate into seats. Our posters have been notorious in failing to go from vote share to seat shares. So if you add to that their own biases and the requirement that having made predictions before the elections, they must not make exit polls look a bit like them. This is the problem they are having. I think on the other hand, your site and your viewers have more horse sense. What they're saying to me seems to be closer to the reality than what's being said in the channels.
All
I
right,
agree with you.
as the cliche goes, it'll only be all clear once the results are in on the 16th. But you can write in fact, Harsh, Yash Hirawat has written in that there is a Modi wave at every level. So there is emphatic support for Narendra Modi on the online media as far as it's concerned. And if you think you can change this prediction around, if you think that Modi is winning, or you think Rahul Gandhi is winning, or do you think even Arvind Kejriwal can get 272, then add to that prediction. Get your honest assessment out. Let's, as a country, try to understand how we voted, and that will only happen once we give out information to each other voluntarily. So go to India Post Live and write it. Gaurav, as far as the third front goes, as far as the regional parties go, they have often been viewed as spoilers, as parties that ensure that there's no stability. Is that the sense on the ground from where you've been traveling? Because they have 177 seats.
Out of the 4 states that I traveled, only one state, UP, has this interesting regional political parties as well as national political parties. The rest of them have basically 2-party contest. So in UP, this time, a lot of people, resonate with the view that Sudeep told, that they don't want to give their vote to a party which eventually cannot play a national role, would only be a supporter to a Congress or the BJP. So, and it's the history has given them enough evidence that both BSP and SP eventually line up with Congress. So those people who do not want to bring Congress in the center are, even if they don't like BJP, are siding with BJP.
They actually acquired anti-incumbency of Congress. They actually acquired.
All right, Venkatesh, I want to get you in on this. Is that why the DMK is also expected not to do very well? Because, I mean, they were part of the UPA for the longest. I mean, only till very recently. I mean, for 10 years, they were the Congress's main ally and partner in crime, as according to the kind of scams that we saw. So, the allies of the UPA getting flack for, and the regional satrap status getting a little questioned by the voters?
Yeah, well, that will certainly hurt a bit. 10 years, 9.5 years in the UPA, putting both hands up for all the anti-people in the UPA, that's going to hurt DMK. But having said that, let's also remember that the AIADMK is the single largest political force in Tamil Nadu for quite some years now. So their own independent strength is quite significant. Now, what the Bajpa has tried to do with the motley combination of parties is really try and chip away at this. And it's not going to work very well because the guys they've got on board are all at 6 and 7 to each other. I mean, the policies are completely different on every single issue. So I suspect that DMK might do marginally better than suggested. ADMK might do marginally worse than suggested, but in the event between the two of them, they'll probably lap up quite a large proportion of the seats in Tamil Nadu. Out of this 39 plus 1, including Pondicherry, they'll probably get anywhere between 35 and 36, 37. So at the most, one MDMK possibly or one, lots of money has been played in this election. And the one guy in the NDA ticket who's got lots of money to throw around, he might just win on his money. It's possible that in one or two constituencies like Kanyakumari, there's a marginal possibility of an NDA candidate winning. But and maybe likewise with Dharmapuri, where you have this former health minister who's solidified the caste vote of his caste. But all that has the opposite effect because Dalits will then vote as a caste bloc against him. So it's not clear. I suspect that the NDA plus, NDA as a whole, would probably end up with 2 or 3 seats. And what you said about DMK carrying a bit of anti-incumbency, that would be valid. But don't forget that the ADMK is the state government. So there's a bit of a local anti-incumbency factor there. But by and large, the ADMK has not got into the stage where the anti-incumbency against state is going to be strong. So I suspect that the ADMK will be relatively.
All right, Rahul, we've absolutely run out of time, so but I'll give you the final word because you've been raising and wanting to come into the discussion. The final word from you, then we'll wrap up.
2 quick points. One, even if the poll which you are showing on the internet gets right, is wrong, right? Because polls should not be judged by the numbers. Polls should be judged by the rigorous method they follow. Fluke may, if they get it right, it doesn't mean that was a right poll. That's the first point. Second point, 1977 election, anti-Congress sentiment, some people call it pro-Janta Party wave. 1989 elections, anti-Congress sentiment, some people called it pro-Janta Dal, pro-VP Singh wave. 2014 elections, anti-Congress sentiment, and some people will call it pro-Modi wave. Sir, let's not get into the semantics. It's basically when on which side of political divide you stand, right? And you are taking a position. If people are not ready to vote for BSP and SP in Congress, and they are saying that BJP
Rahul. In 77, it was the opposition led by Jayaprakash Narayan which created the wave. In 89 again, this anti-Congress wave was created by VP Singh and its team on Bofors issue. None of that thing has been done by Modi or BJP in this election. That's why this is anti-Congress wave. There is a difference between 77, 89 and 2014.
Okay. I would concede that if you believe that Modi is not the focal point of the election.
It's a focal point, but he's riding on anti-Congress wave.
Sir, so VP Singh didn't rode on anti-Congress.
VP Singh himself created.
I would think that we're going into semantics. I would think we're going into semantics.
Like I have to support that there is a wave. All I'm saying that let's not get into this debate of 2 words. There are crucial issues that needs to be discussed. We ourselves 3 are waste in discussing whether there is a wave or not wave, and then we talk that
or
media
we should
doesn't
say
care
CAG has created this wave.
All right, I think the Congress created the wave for itself. But on that note, we'll have to wrap up. We'll absolutely run out of time. Thank you very much, Rahul, for coming in. Venkatesh Atre and Darshan Desai, it was a pleasure having you on the show. And we look forward to your participation over the next 3 days. Sudeep Srivastava and Gaurav, thank you very much for coming in. And Gaurav, I'm sure you must be tired. I hope you're getting lots of fluid in after your cycle tour, covering the elections across the country.
Some special prize must be given.
I think the sedan car, you can also win. You also participate in that conversation. Next election, 2019 or 16, wherever it might turn out to be, you could be traveling in a car this time.
I would still prefer cycle.
You still prefer the cycle.
Then some imported one. Good one.
All right. On that note, we'll have to wrap up. But Hum Bole prediction is up for you to participate in. There's a car to be won, there are iPads to be won, a whole host of prizes. So go to indiapostlive.com and check out Hum Bole, participate in it and make your own prediction. On that note, we'll wrap up. Thanks so much for watching.